Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Alex and this is Make It Good, the channel where I talk about usually movies, but stuff that I'm interested in I want to share with you. So I want to share everything that I picked up on Blu-ray and 4K in the month of June. The only exception to that is the Vinegar Syndrome Halfway to Black Friday sale pickups. That's going to be a video on its own. The box came in on June 30th. It was a huge box and it kind of deserves its own video. I also want to apologize. I would have gotten this video out earlier, but I do want to give some space in between this video and all of the recommendations I did for the 50% off Criterion sale that's running at Barnes & Noble right now. That sale actually started a week earlier than I had expected. So I didn't want to have the two bump up too much against each other. So a little bit of breathing room in there. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into those. And although I'm not showing any of the Vinegar Syndrome Halfway to Black Friday sale pickup items, I did pick up some movies from the partner label month that was going on all through June. They only featured partner labels, and I got a couple of those. So the first one I picked up is from Deaf Crocodile. They've been putting out some really interesting Russian, European, Slavic films lately. And the first one I picked up is Prague Nights. This is an anthology series, very supernatural, very horror themed. The description says it like mixes sort of that mod 60s feel with sort of classic historical Prague. But it also looks like it's dealing with a lot of folklore, which really interested me. Plus, the slipcover had some really interesting collage art that I really dug, so definitely wanted to pick that up. Haven't checked it out yet. In fact, all three of these Vinegar Syndrome films I haven't checked out yet. I've got a ton of stuff I'm trying to get caught up on. But yeah, this one looked really good. So a director that I've seen featured, that Yellow Veil Pictures have put out a few films of his out, is Wojciech Haas. They did Hourglass Sanitarium and the Sargassa Manuscript. But they put out a third film, and that was How to Be Loved. I really love this sort of surrealist artwork on the front. That's just a puddle, but that artwork on the front looks fantastic. So since I had picked up his other two films, I sort of wanted to keep that theme going, check out more of his stuff, and so How to Be Loved definitely made my list. And the last film that I picked up from Vinegar Syndrome during partner label months was from AGFA, and that was Effects. This film, it was basically a film cobbled together by a bunch of friends of George Romero. Tom Savini is one of them. So a bunch of guys that work sort of behind the camera decided they wanted to make a film together. And it's really all about a bunch of guys making a snuff film, but then like strange things start happening on set. I'd never heard of this film. Never knew Tom Savini did a film like this. He was one of the main draws for me, but yeah, like definitely looking forward to checking this one out. The gritty cover on the front. I ended up changing the slip cover, which was the inside cover, just because it was very similar to this cover. But I also kind of dug this sort of hand-drawn image on the front. So really looking forward. Very kind of low-budget, grindhousey, homemade feel from what I was seeing, but you know, with some professionals. So yeah, that was Effects. It comes on 4K as well as Blu-ray, so hard not to hate that. All right, so also in the month of June, I went out of state. So did a little bit of traveling for a couple of days. And while I was there, I decided to pop into a Barnes & Noble, just kind of see what other Barnes & Nobles had. Obviously, the Criterion sale wasn't going on, but I was just curious, hey, if I lived here, what would they have? But lo and behold, they were actually running a Kino Lorber sale. I didn't see this advertised anywhere. I didn't see anyone mentioning it at the time. And the first three movies that caught my eye, because I had never seen them, which is a shame, is this. I've heard it referred to as the Dollars trilogy, also the Man with No Name trilogy. But these are the classic Westerns starring Clint Eastwood that were directed by Sergio Leone. We got A Fistful of Dollars, For a Few Dollars More, and Good, Bad, and the Ugly, which this is the one everybody talks about. It's the one I still haven't seen. I did watch these other two. Loved them. So rectifying, having never seen this really pretty impressive Western trilogy. Also, there was a couple of Burt Reynolds movies that I had never seen before. Another one, yes, is a shame that I haven't seen it. It's The Longest Yard. Definitely want to check this out. I've seen the Adam Sandler one. I know they basically have nothing to do with each other, but I wanted to see what the inspiration was all about. Can't hurt that it's Burt Reynolds. Also, there was one with Catherine Deneuve, and that is Hustle. This one I did check out. I enjoyed it overall. Really kind of interesting look at police life in the 70s. Not all of it good. But mostly I got this because I did not know that Catherine Deneuve had ever done a movie with Burt Reynolds. So I decided to check this one out. Interesting film overall. And the last one that I was really, really fascinated by is this Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, The Oblong Box. It's based on an Edgar Allan Poe story, and I was just like, yeah, I'm in. Vincent Price and Christopher Lee in a movie together, an Edgar Allan Poe movie. I'm sure they've been in another one somewhere. They both fit that bill really well. But yeah, I had to check this one out. And it was kind of a strange, weird horror film from 1950s, 1960s, yeah, late 1960s. And yeah, so I checked it out, and I just really love this green on black cover. I think it's striking and interesting and very, very cool. All right, so by far my biggest haul during the month of June was at a Best Buy while I was out of town. So all the Best Buys near where I live were not carrying any discs anymore, so I really can't go to them for new releases or any of those like cool slipcover or the steel books that they've been doing, which is a shame because I don't buy anything at Best Buy anymore. But I went to one Best Buy. They also didn't have any discs while I was out of sale. It was like right down the street from the Barnes & Noble. The next day, I decided to try a different Best Buy that was closer to my hotel. Lo and behold, they had a ton of stuff. They may have been running deals, or they had films that were, just going to be marked down. I don't know, but I grabbed a bunch of stuff because why wouldn't I? So anyway, let's go ahead and go through that. So one of the first movies I got is this movie I hadn't seen since like the 90s, and that is Over the Top with Sly Stallone. So there's also a riff tracks of this film, and that was kind of the main reason I decided to go ahead and pick it up. Plus it was only like $5 or $6, so can't hurt that. It's an arm wrestling movie where he saves his son through arm wrestling. That's basically the plot, but it's amazing all the same. All right, so the next thing that I picked up at Best Buy is Apocalypse Now, the final cut. This came out a little while ago, and when I picked it up, I didn't realize that it did not come with the slip box or anything like that. I don't think any of them did. They're all just they sit on your shelf kind of open like this, which is fine. It's not like a lot of stuff is happening on my shelf that's going to be a problem. But it does kind of freak me out that, there's no box to kind of keep it secure. If somebody else were to grab it off, they may not notice. I did end up keeping the card though, just so, if somebody did decide to pull it off my shelf, they would kind of be careful at the time. But hey, what are you going to do? That was an upgrade. I had the Redux of Apocalypse Now, but I've always wanted to have the regular cut and the final cut. Now I do. The next 4 titles I picked up were all A24 titles. Most of them were ranging from anywhere from $5 to about $11 or $12. The first 2 were movies that I had really wanted to check out, didn't for one reason or another, couldn't catch them, and one of them I'm really ashamed of. The first one is Inspection. Definitely wanted to check it out, didn't get to see it. It wasn't in theaters long near me, so picked that up. The other one is Moonlight, which I've been meaning to see for a really long time now. Now I have it. I'm probably going to check it out in the next few days, actually. The other 2 A24 films that I picked up, I had seen before. So the first one was Men. Hadn't seen this on shelves in my area for a while, so I was finally able to pick this up cheap with a slipcover. And also very cheap with a slipcover was X, which I have Pearl. And then I did have this movie in this like A24 horror set, but it was really nice to see it for like $4 or $5 with a slipcover, so I went ahead and picked this up as well. So now I've got those. All right, so the last three things that I picked up at Best Buy were actually some steelbooks. Now, I'm not a steelbook guy. I don't have anything against them. I don't, a lot of people have really strong opinions on them for some reason. I think they look cool. It's just I'm always worried about them either getting dented or scratched, and I just didn't want to deal with that at all. I didn't want to have to buy extra slips to just hold on to, waiting until I got slip covers. I didn't want the hassle. But as you know, Best Buy has all those really cool steel books with the slip, with art on it. And so, yeah, I was like, well, I'm here. I might as well pick up a few. So it's really funny. One of these movies I've seen, loved, have seen it a ton of times. One of these I've never seen. And the third one I started watching, I rented it in the early 2000s, fell asleep, didn't get a chance to finish it, had to take it back, and then I just never got back to it. Two of them are actually Criterion films that are out of print, so I was very happy to at least have them in steelbook form, and they're gorgeous steelbooks. The first one, the one I've never seen, is Ran, the Akira Kurosawa film. Absolutely stunning artwork, both on the slip and underneath. Looks so nice. I'm so happy to have this. And the stills I've seen from this movie look absolutely gorgeous. Cannot wait to watch it. The movie that I started watching and fell asleep to is The Man Who Fell to Earth with David Bowie. Love David Bowie. And I love that comes up and reveals his alien eye underneath. We got some really nice spacey artwork on the back as well. Again, beautiful, beautiful slipcase. So I was very happy to have those. And the movie that I've seen a ton of times, love it. I've seen, the director's cut, the regular cut, all of these is, of course, Russell Mulcahy's Highlander with Sean Connery and Christopher Lambert. And I just had to give them, I love the MacLeod sword, splitting them down the middle. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Look at that, Kurgan right on the back. So that was the steelbooks I decided to pick up. Very happy with those purchases, by the way. So if I'm going to get a steelbook, you cannot go wrong at all with these Lionsgate, exclusives at Best Buy. So the last three films that I picked up in the month of June were pretty shortly after I got back from my trip. All three of these films, I just kind of walked into a Target and found out they were doing a buy two, get one free sale. All three of these films I wanted to see in theaters and didn't get a chance to. All three of these I wanted to, watch for the first time with my wife. And I got to manage all those. We watched all three movies when I picked them up. We had a blast with all three of them. Every single one, was nostalgic in different ways. And yeah, I was just very happy with these purchases. All new movies, all came out in 2023. So let's go ahead and jump into those. So the first movie that I picked up was, and I was really happy with this one, was Renfield with Nicholas Hoult, Awkwafina, and of course Nick Cage playing Dracula. I loved that they gave so much love, primarily at the beginning, but so much love to the Bela Lugosi films, and there's little references to Max Schreck. And if you go into the special features, Nick Cage talks about how, Christopher Lee and all these other, actors who played Dracula, he was, taking little inspirations from. But this movie was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. It was funnier. It was certainly more gory than I thought it was going to be. But it was just one of those over-the-top films that are so over-the-top that you can't help but kind of love them at the same time. Kind of dumb, but in that wonderful way. And so that's Renfield, which I had a blast watching. So the next film that I picked up kind of hits me nostalgia-wise in a different way, not something that I experienced personally, but sort of secondhand. The movie is Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. A lot of fun. You really don't need to know anything about Dungeons & Dragons going into this movie. It's just kind of a fun fantasy film. But I used to work at a comic book store, and we would sell a lot of the Dungeons & Dragons books. We would have nights dedicated where people could just grab a table and play Dungeons & Dragons, D&D. And I would kind of overhear things. I would, get little bits and pieces of the lore, of the mythos. And so I was hearing those same things happening in this. So this felt very much like a game I would overhear. So a lot of fun watching this movie. And the last film, full of nostalgia for me, more than the other two especially, is of course the Super Mario Brothers movie. I I can't tell you how bombarded I felt with nostalgia. From the very beginning, hearing the Super Mario Brothers Super Show theme to little, visual nods, music cues. Obviously, all the characters are there. I had an absolute blast with this film. I was getting misty-eyed because of seeing so many things I had experienced as a child just sort of come to life on the screen, even though it's animated, but you know what I mean. I loved the '93 Super Mario Brothers movie with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, but this was just so much fun. What was I gonna do? Not like it? Get out of here. Of course I loved it. It's great. Anyway, so that's it for the video. That's everything that I picked up in June, minus, of course, the halfway to Black Friday sale, which will be coming out in a future video, probably the next video. I've got a few videos that are going to be coming out in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for those. But anyway, as usual, watch good movies. I did. Watched a ton of them this month. Eat good food. Had some on my trip. Take care of yourself. Someone else if you can, but make it good. Take care of yourself now.